God, what's with all the mixing today? I am tired. Hey everyone, welcome back to Cooking with Kimmy. Today we are going to make chicken soup and sweet potato dumplings. So this is a really easy recipe, something to make when you're sick or dying. I don't know. It's kind of a riff on like traditional chicken and dumplings. Put everything into a pot, really easy. I'm gonna do the chicken soup first because it takes a while to cook. But you can see that even though it takes long on the stove, the prep is super duper minimal. So I have my ingredients here. I have a whole chicken. I have some celery, carrots, and onion, salt and pepper. All the amounts will be on the recipe on the recipe on the website. I'm gonna cut this into quarters. I'm gonna keep the root on, just because for this recipe, we're not serving the soup with any bits of vegetables. So what we're really doing here is kind of flavoring the soup base or the stock. We're not gonna cut the vegetables into chunks and dice it and stuff because we're not gonna serve it in the final product. Everything's gonna get strained out. We're just cutting all of this for flavor. So I'm not even gonna peel these. I quartered them, just put them in the pot. Same thing with the carrots. They're clean, obviously, but not peeled or anything. Just gonna cut them into like 1/2-inch rounds. Put that into the pot. And the last vegetable is celery. I just cut it in half. I'm gonna throw it in, leaves and everything. So that's really all the prep we need. We have a tablespoon of black peppercorns here. Put my chicken in here and then cover it with water. And that's pretty much it. Just gonna maneuver the chicken, put the vegetables around. Here we've covered the chicken and the vegetables in water. Now we're going to salt this heavily. It's a lot of water and a lot of meat. And then I'm just gonna put the lid on, and this is gonna go for about 1.5 to 2 hours. First, bring it up to a boil and then bring it down to a simmer. And just let it cook until the chicken is super, super tender. We can show you how that looks like in a bit. So while our chicken is going in the oven, we're going to make the dumplings. Today we're doing them with sweet potatoes. So this is kind of our newer version of chicken and dumplings, which is like a traditional American dish. The dumplings normally are just like flour, some sort of leavener like baking powder, and salt. Today we're gonna make our base from sweet potatoes. I don't want to say like a gnocchi type, but almost like that. So kind of like a amalgamation of all these different things that we like to eat in this really simple, easy soup. Earlier, I took a couple sweet potatoes and peeled them, covered them in salted water, and then just brought them up to a boil until the potatoes are fork tender. And this is them now. So what I'm gonna do is just pass these potatoes through a ricer until I get about 2.5 cups of mashed sweet potatoes. So if you don't have a ricer, you can use a potato masher, a food mill, or a fork and lots of elbow grease. So I bought these sweet potatoes, obviously kamote. In the supermarket, they'll come in 3 colors, purple, white, and orange. So you definitely want to get the orange ones. Sorry, this thing is so loud. I'm so weak. Ugh. So here I have the mashed sweet potatoes. This is about 3 cups. I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup of flour to start, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and a pinch of salt. You don't want to overwork this dough. The dumplings can get tough if you work them a little bit too much. So you just kind of want to mix it and add enough flour until this kind of comes together. So I'm gonna turn this out onto my counter and work the rest with my hands. So here you have your dough. You could do this like gnocchi, roll it out into ropes and then cut it into like little bite-sized pieces. What I'm gonna do is roll it out like dumplings, which are traditionally flat and square. I just think flat and square, flat and rectangular. I think it just eats better in the soup. Again, we don't have any vegetables or anything like that in the soup itself. We're gonna strain everything out. So it's nice that this kind of makes the bulk of the dish. Slightly flour it. We're just gonna get our rolling pin. Just also flour where we're gonna. The dough is obviously made of sweet potato, so it's not gonna behave like a bread dough. So you have to be careful when you roll this out, just so that it doesn't break apart. You want it about 1/4 inch thick. You can also work in pieces if it's easier. So cut this into rough squares. Just pick them up, put them on a floured surface, and then we'll boil them in our soup in an hour. So I've cut the dumplings and they're resting here behind me. Our soup has been going for 2 hours. Just want to show you what we're looking for here. So I'll remove the lid. And you can see we have our stock. All the vegetables are really soft. We're gonna drain those out later. But for now, what I wanna do is remove the chicken, remove all the bones and shred the meat, and then put it back into the soup. So you wanna be careful because after 2 hours in this broth, the chicken is really tender and it's gonna wanna fall apart on you. See? Tender. Just take out the chicken, gonna shred the meat, then put it back in. So just take out all the bones. It's gonna be super easy to shred. You can see it's just falling apart. Just take out all the bones. Ew, what is that? Chickens are animals. They have weird parts like us. If you didn't want to serve this with the skin, if that's not your thing, like boiled chicken skin, you can also remove the skin. That's fine. I'm just gonna leave it in there. I actually like the texture. And it's less work to remove less things from it. You can see like the bones are being picked clean. That means your chicken is super tender. Now, when you get to the breast part, just use 2 forks to pull the meat apart. Comes away really easily. There you go, just one last check. Now what we're gonna do is strain this, remove all the vegetables, the peppercorns, everything we put in there, and then we'll put it back into the pot and bring it back up to a boil, and we'll add the chicken and cook the dumplings. So now we strain the liquid. I'm just gonna press as much out of these vegetables as I can. Once that's done, we're gonna lower it back into our pot here. Oh my God, I'm a mess. This is also a really good stage to test your soup. So you wanna try it, season it with salt, and if you're gonna add pepper at this stage, to use finely ground or cracked black pepper, not whole peppercorns, because we already strained the soup. So I'm just gonna try this out and see if it needs any salt or anything. Wow, it was really hot. And that's good for me. I think that's salty enough. When you add the dumplings, it will thicken a little bit because we did flour them. And so some of that starch is gonna release into the soup, but it will remain kind of brothy. It's kind of what you want here. So we'll just wait for this to come back up to a boil and then we'll continue with the dumplings. So our soup has been strained and we're bringing it back up to a boil. I'm just gonna add back all the chicken that we shredded. Rogue bone. So we added back the chicken. We're gonna add this, bring it back up to a boil, and then we're gonna add our dumplings. And then what we're gonna do is stir it very carefully, just not to interrupt or break them apart. And then we're gonna put a lid on, wait for it to come up to well, it will be boiling. So we're gonna put the lid on and wait for the dumplings to float. And when they've been floating for about 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, then we're ready to serve. Okay, so I'm just gonna lower these in, and then we'll turn it off tuloy. Put the lid on. But what's great about the soup is you can keep the soup stock itself in the ref without the dumplings yet, of course, and you can keep the dumplings in the fridge also. So whenever you're ready to eat, like it keeps for maybe a week or two, you can always just put some of the cold stock into a pot, put the dumplings in, bring everything up to a boil, and then you'll have your meal. Should stop talking and hurry up. We put a little bit of baking powder so they will puff up a bit. Then we'll just wait for them to float to the top and cook. And we're ready to serve. So now we're pretty much ready to serve. I'm just gonna give it a stir. As you see, they've gotten really big. They floated to the top, and that means they're already cooked. Then we'll just serve and we're finished. So hot, my lord. And then we're just gonna finish it off with some parsley. I normally use flat leaf parsley, but we have curly parsley. That's fine. Just want it everywhere, just to give like a little bit of freshness. Just finish it with some cracked black pepper. Smoothly. So this is the perfect like soup for the Burr months, when it's getting a little bit colder or when you're sick. It's very comforting, very easy, very simple. Really nice, clean flavors. And I hope you guys try this at home. And if you do, let us know how it is. And like, subscribe, all those things. And watch your next video. Bye! It's so hot. It's so awkward. No, it's good. Try it. I think I burnt my tongue. I'm out.